morning, everyone. We are now live. I'm starting the recording. And Susie, you can begin the meeting.
Joe?
We can open up Commissioner Levine.
Oh, Commissioner Levine, opening
Susie,
remarks?
we don't have any audio.
Do we need to call roll?
Roll call?
Yeah.
Mel Levine present. Commissioner McLean Hill present. Berard
Okay,
present.
Susie, hold on. There we go. Now we're live. Susie,
Commissioner Levine,
meeting's now yours.
opening of the board meeting by President Levine. Roll call. Commissioner Levine, present. McLean Hill, present. Jill Berard, present. Susanna Reyes, present. And Neiman Brady, present. Channel 35 remarks. This proceeding broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. Opening remarks by Commissioner Levine. Please hold.
Hello?
Commissioner.
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Opening remarks, please.
Yeah, I will begin. I will my opening remarks in a moment. Roll call reminds me that when we have votes, I think you need to do a roll call on the votes as well, just person by person.
Correct.
Welcome, everybody. I have really three opening remarks. First, this goes without saying, ordinarily challenging time. And in that context, I want to offer the highest possible praise to our entire DWP staff across the boards, every component of the department, for what is really being it's a Herculean response to this coronavirus. And our staff's minute by minute, hour by hour, successful efforts in keeping water and power efficiently available to all of our ratepayers is nothing short of extraordinary. The challenges are extraordinary, and the response of our extremely dedicated and capable DWP employees in every area demonstrate their incredible dedication and talent, and we can't thank them enough. So I want to begin by saluting our entire staff. I also particularly want to thank and compliment the technical staff and board staff for putting this meeting together telephonically. I can only imagine the challenge. They've spent a ton of time doing dry runs and ironing out the kinks in the system as recently as a few minutes ago. So thank you very, very much. Also, in the context of this telephonic meeting, this is the first exclusively telephonic meeting in the board's history. While I am the presiding officer of this board, today I will be relying on those limited members of our senior executive team who are physically present to help guide the flow of the meeting. And at this point, I'm going to ask our general counsel to provide some information on how our meeting and public comment will proceed. So, Joe, would you take it from there?
Yes, good morning, Commissioner. With me in the boardroom today are General Manager and Chief Engineer Marty Adams, our CFO Ann Santilli, the Board Secretary, and very limited essential staff only. As permitted under Governor Newsom's executive order of March 17th, all of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners are teleconferencing from remote locations. Also consistent with the Governor's order, all public comment will be taken telephonically. We may announce a recess if we have technical difficulties or lose a quorum due to technical difficulties. As indicated on the agenda, members of the public wishing to offer public comment should call area code 415-655-0002 and use meeting ID number 968-924-166#, and then follow the queue. There is a call moderator who will let you know when it is your turn to speak. To members of the public calling in, when it is your turn to speak, please state whether you're speaking on general public comment or specific agenda items. You will have your regular 2 minutes. It's important when you call in to speak to, if you're listening to the board meeting on your computer or on a speakerphone, please turn down the volume of those devices so we don't get any feedback. The board secretary will now call roll again, and commissioners, when she does this time, if you would please identify any items that you would like pulled from the agenda for questions or discussion.
Commissioner Levine?
Yes, Susie, I'd like item 12 pulled. Budget. I'd like item 14 pulled. A transmittal of fiscal year 2020-21 budget. I'm sorry, that 12 is the revenue bonds and 14 is the budget. Those are the 2 items I would like pulled.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner McLean-Hill? Commissioner McLean-Hill? Are you present?
Hear us?
There she is in the corner. Yeah.
Commissioner McLean-Hill? Are you present, and do you have any items to be pulled?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, terrific. I said that Commissioner Levine has already pulled the items that I'm interested in.
Thank you. Commissioner Berard? Commissioner Berard, can you hear me? Commissioner Berard?
Probably what happened to her is what happened to me when we went into the test mode. Our computer control muted again, so she's got to unmute that.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. Commissioner Berard, can you hear me?
We can see you. I think you're still muted.
Commissioner Berard, can you unmute your computer?
There's a red button on your screen, Jill. You have to hit that button.
That one right there.
That will put you back on.
Has a line.
There we
Has
go.
a line.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Berard, do you have any items to be pulled?
Yes, items 12 and 14.
Thank you. Commissioner Reyes?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Yes.
can. Thank you.
Items 15 and 20, please.
Which ones, 15 and 20?
Correct.
Thank you. Commissioner Neiman Brady?
None at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, Mr. President, I will turn it over back to you and to the moderator for general public comment and public comment on any specific items.
So, Susie, do we have any speaker cards for general public comment?
Steve Resner, do we have any speaker cards for general public comment?
So currently on event number 2, we do not have any attendees for public comment.
So Steve, to be correct, there's nobody in the queue, correct?
Correct. There is no one in the queue currently.
Mr. President, at this time, I would recommend that you close the public comment period.
Okay, having provided the opportunity for public comment and no one in the queue, we will now close general public comment. Steve, how many people do we have for comment on individual agenda items?
Mr. President, to be clear, there was nobody on public comment for either general or specific.
Are you clear on that? Because the list we saw earlier had one speaker for one item.
That was an e-comment, Commissioner.
Oh, fine. Okay, so public comment is closed. And we will...
Okay, I'll proceed to close the public comment room.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we now lateral to our general manager.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Good morning, commissioners. It's good we got this. Good. Can everybody hear me okay? It's glad we got this meeting up and running, and things seem to be working well. It's an adjustment for everybody, but I think everything these days is an adjustment for everybody, so we're doing pretty well. President Levine, I'd like to echo, your recognition of staff, particularly, our audiovisual and IT staff have been working tirelessly, as well as the folks in the board office, and Steve Ball by loan by default. They have spent countless hours over here making this work, and as you're aware, this is going on throughout society, people trying to learn how to use Zoom and WebEx and everything else in the world. City Council held their first Zoom meeting, or whatever it was, I guess it was Zoom, on Friday, and that was their first meeting they've had in quite some time. You're all aware of the antiquated communication systems and things that we have up here on the 15th floor that we're in the process of looking at replacing. So the folks from our staff, from your staff, have done a fantastic job of getting the pieces together to make this work. So I want to make sure that we recognize their efforts and the commitment they've made to make sure that your board can continue to function and hold meetings even during this time. So I'd like to thank those folks very much. And a lot of folks from Lewis Carr's group and Joe Romalo's group, the folks that are behind the scenes, that are standing by and helping to make sure that this all comes out without a hitch. So thank you very much. I want you to know we will have a briefing on specific COVID issues later on. Just to let you know, work is continuing. On the water side, we've been pretty fortunate, no major breaks. We're still getting the usual kind of breaks we would see. It's it's not been particularly cold, and we're seeing, so we're kind of at a lull right now in terms of breaks, so nothing out of the ordinary. Power, we had a couple big outages last week in the Cheviot Hills area, and then on Saturday we had a long outage between 20 and 24 hours for about 2,100 customers. That's an underground area, and so during the week, power crews pulled about 1,000 feet of cable, and then we had another failure underground, which, as you're aware from other instances, underground's reliable in storms and a lot of other times when you have blowing tree branches and things that could knock down a power line. But when you do have a fault underground, it's a lot more work to locate it and to make the repair. So there was a prolonged outage. Andy Kendall had and Brian Wilbur, who handles this transmission distribution, had a lot of crews out over the weekend working on that. They did get it successfully completed. With that, there is still critical infrastructure work going on to try to avoid future problems. While we're seeing demands drop because of a lack of business and industry, we are seeing more prolonged demands in the residential areas. And so, but the work is going on. That was the one big outage that we've had. The management team is working hard on a regular basis today. Most everyone is here in their offices, away from each other, monitoring this meeting. You can see Andy's COVID-19 beard he's working on there. They've been both here and out seeing their crews in the districts, working either here or remotely at times, but everyone is fully engaged, and I appreciate the effort that they put in. Last thing I just want to mention is somewhere around 10:50 or 11 o'clock, seeing how the presentation goes. If we have much more to go, we'll probably take maybe a 10-minute break for everyone, so people can get up and stretch their legs and get something to drink. We do need to go through the board presentation on the budget, and that'll be kind of tedious, so we'd like to just plan to give everyone a break at a good time, and that way folks can't wonder if it's a good time to step away or not. We'll try to build that in here, and I think that's about all I have to say. Am I forgetting anything, Joe, that we've talked about? No. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Marty. That's terrific. And Andy, that's a great beard. a distance.
A lot of gray in it.
I would recommend that you just call on each commissioner to see if each of them have comments.
Commissioner McLean Hill, do you have comments?
Only to echo Commissioner Levine's comments and Marty's with respect to the extraordinary work and tremendous appreciation for the efforts of the staff during this difficult time.
Thank you. Commissioner Berard, do you have comments?
I just want to compliment Marty. I think during this difficult time, I want to thank Marty for holding us all together. And I think he's the perfect person to be general manager at this time. And I'm glad that he's there, and I know he's doing a great job. Thank you, Marty.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Commissioner Reyes, comments?
Same thing, echoing what my other colleagues have said, and to thank our general manager and his team and all the dedicated employees of DWP, and also to thank all who provide critical services in the great city of Los Angeles, those who ensure operations, so many at the local level, and for all to heed the call for social distancing, okay? So, and one other thing that I just want to put on the table, and I think I mentioned this at one of our board meetings, is about our share project. And because this is a very viable avenue for other customers to donate to a fund that will be used to help customers experiencing financial hardship to pay their bills. So I'm instructing the department to develop an action plan to integrate this program back into our customer billing system. The Southern California Edison and the city of Burbank are examples of utilities who have a space in their utility bills for an energy assistance program for customers who are willing and able to donate. So if you could please take a look at it, develop an action plan, and provide a timeline for these efforts, that will be well appreciated, especially during this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Neiman Brady?
I have nothing additional to add. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we move to the ratepayer advocate.
I have a few short comments on items A, and 14, and I think those can wait for the presentation and the discussion on 14. On item 15, and I think those can wait for the discussion on item 15, and for item 20 also, which can wait for the discussion on item 20. You all should have received a memo with the package outlining a short form of those comments.
So Susie, discussion with neighborhood council representatives on any neighborhood council resolution or community impact statement filed with the city clerk which relate to any agenda item listed or being considered on this agenda for the Water and Power Board.
No community impact statements or formal positions were filed by any neighborhood councils on the items on today's agenda.
Great. Okay, we've pulled items 12, 14, 15, and 20. Does anybody wish to pull any of the items between item 11? Well, we have to pull 3 items because Commissioner Reyes has to recuse. So that's 23 through 25. So those will be pulled because of the recusal.
Mr. President, we do have 3 items that we were looking to defer.
Yes, Marty, please advise.
21 and 22, and then 18 is also, is that correct, Joe?
Yeah.
Yes, 18, 21, and 22, we'd like to defer. Staff would like to do additional work on those items.
Okay. Okay, I move that we defer those items. Is there a second?
Second?
Second, Reyes.
Those in favor?
Aye.
So,
Aye.
is anybody opposed? Hearing none, it's unanimous to defer those items. Okay, so what we have left that is neither deferred nor pulled.
And Commissioner, as you get into the consent, the items for a block vote, I would ask that you add item 26A1 from the closed session agenda onto that. You have the report for that, and if we're able to vote on that on the consent agenda, that'll eliminate the need to go into close today.
Is there any objection to adding 26A1 to the consent agenda? Hearing none, it is added. So do I hear a motion to approve 11, 13,
Jill pulled item 13.
No, she had 14, I think.
14.
I apologize.
Sorry.
11, 13, 16, 17, 19, and 20.
26A1, correct?
And 26A1.
And 26A1. So I move approval of those items. Is there a second?
Second?
Is there anybody opposed to approving those items?
One comment.
Can you-
You
can you-
included 20 in your list.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm sorry, strike 20.
And
So-
can I have an explanation on why why the others were deferred? I understand you have already voted on that, but we have all voted on that. I didn't, but we're going a little fast, even though I know it seems like we're going slow. It's just I think we want to go a little slower to make sure we're getting everybody.
That's fine. I'm sorry, I thought I heard, never mind, good point. Marty?
Yeah,
Can you explain?
if Nancy can get on, she can talk about 18. I can tell you that on 21, we needed to make a correction on the vendor selection. There was something in the scoring we had to go back and correct so that you had a proper presentation in front of you. And the water supply assessment, Rick, is there anything on there you'd like to comment on 22?
We just needed to finish up the assessment. We actually weren't completed by the time we put it on the agenda.
Nancy, do you have a response on 18?
On item 20, item 18, it's a CEQA document. We're still trying to resolve some of the comments that we received. We expect that to come back shortly.
So you'll see these items hopefully at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You okay with those?
Yes.
Okay. So do I hear, well, I move approval of items 11, 13, 16, 17, 19, and 26A.
Second. Neiman Brady approved.
Is there any, let's go person by person. Susie, please call the roll.
Mel Levine,
Aye.
Commissioner McLean-Hill,
Aye.
Jill Berard,
Aye.
Susanna Reyes,
Aye.
Neiman Brady,
Aye.
Okay, so those items are approved. That leaves, after the COVID and budget presentations and the monthly report, items 12, 14, 15, and 20, 12, 14, 15, and 20.
correct.
So, Marty, let's move to 8A COVID update.
Okay, thank you. I will do part of this, and I'll rely on my colleagues to do add some comments in as well. So the last time when we did not have a board meeting, I was able to do under the Brown Act allowance, do a briefing just of what was going on here at the department. So I'll talk a little bit more on that, and then we can discuss any kind of plans or questions you have. Since last week, we've greatly increased our telecommuting response here, so we have a lot less people at the workplace. Last week, we were hitting around 1,800 people telecommuting. Yesterday, we had 2,900 people telecommuting. So we have a substantial portion of our workforce is at home. We still have crews working in the field. This is not uniform across the entire utility business, but is not uncommon either. We are focusing on critical work, everything from service connections to the customers that are trying to finish projects, especially things like low-income housing projects. We are working on critical infrastructure. I've mentioned the outages that Power was dealing with last weekend. There's areas like that need upgrades in their infrastructure that we are at risk of failures. And we had some in Melvin, maybe some that have impacted your area out in Bel Air and getting toward Palisades, where we had parts of circuits that need to be restrung so they could handle oncoming demands for the summertime. So there is critical work that is going on. We are keeping our crews more isolated so they're not gathering together in the yard, so that personnel from one crew to another do not mix, so that they're working more in teams and staying in those teams. We're allowing individuals who are in a vehicle with another person to drive their own vehicle to the work site if necessary. We're right now actively looking at kind of disaggregating the people into alternate reporting locations where they can have different staging areas, so there's less chance of being brought together, less need to be brought together. So we're doing everything both for the folks in the office and the field to basically thin out our presence and thin out the contact between people. Call centers are functioning. We're running at a reduced staff level so we can get space between people at our call centers so that we're not at the risk of infection. I think what we're seeing is working in terms of really keeping people apart from each other. Our custodial staff is doing an amazing job at sanitizing the work areas for everybody, both in the building and in our outlying facilities. They've done a couple actual major cleanings where we had suspected illness, including up in the Owens Valley over the weekend, and one of our yards in the valley here in San Fernando Valley. Really doing a fantastic job as our front line of defense to keep all of our employees safe. To date, we have what we believe is 4 positive tests for COVID. None of those seem to be contracted at the workplace. They came from other locations. We've had a number of people we thought would test positive that actually the one more obvious ones that we thought would test positive did not test positive, because there's a lot of other illnesses going on right now that were kind of going on this time of year outside of the coronavirus. We had as many as about 225, 230 employees off on kind of quarantine leave at any one time. Most all of those employees are back. None of them became infected from another employee. So at this point, we feel the steps we're taking are very responsive to issues. Mostly it's issues coming into the workplace from the outside, and protective steps that we have, that if we think someone has potentially been exposed, that we're keeping them at home away from the workforce, and that seems to have been very effective as well. We are working on materials we need for personal protective equipment. We had an order of masks. We're working on additional masks coming in, gloves. It's tough to get sanitizer right now. The materials test lab, the Power test lab just started creating hand sanitizer that we're going to be distributing throughout the company. So we're making our own at this point. We are working on getting more sanitizing wipes so we can keep tools and equipment clean. So right now we're okay, but we need to continue to get those materials in stock, because we will run through a lot of those. But everyone's being very creative, even in terms of creating new dispensers and ways for employees to easily access the things that they need to keep their work areas clean and safe. Again, the workplace seems to be very, very safe and hazard-free. I think we've improved it tremendously, and we're not seeing transmission of anything amongst employees. And so I think that we're creating the environment that we wanted to create, where people can come to work safely, and also people who don't need to be at work can work safely from home. We do have plans. Right now we're working on plans for having less field crews on the job, more folks in reserve if we need to get to that point. So we're looking at what the drivers for that would be, but basically having first team, second team, third team employees, so we have everyone available, almost like an emergency response after an earthquake or during a fire. You don't have everybody show up at once. We have to have some people in abeyance, so we are creating the plans for what that would look like for both field and office folks. We are in the process of having trailers brought in so that we can house employees at certain critical locations. So those will start arriving, we believe, this week and through the weekend. So we're set up for even more stringent conditions if we need to. What else we have here? The mayor's been meeting regularly with the general managers. We've had 2 Sunday afternoon Zoom video conference meetings. We are supporting the city departments in their efforts. About a week and a half ago, the Port of LA had a risk of longshoremen, I don't know, going on strike or just refusing to work because of an inability to disinfect some of the terminal areas in the port. The water system took down the hundreds of gallons of sodium hypochlorite, which is industrial high-grade bleach that's used as water disinfectant, and that allowed the port to continue operations as usual. LA Fire Chief Trousers reached out because they had a number of their mechanics that were off because of quarantine, and so Fleet under Andy took in fire trucks maintained at our, we did maintenance at our facilities with our mechanics to help out the fire department. And then right now, Rec and Parks is in the process of trying to install 500 plus trailers at various park facilities around the city as a place for folks who have the disease to be quarantined. And both Water and Power are stepping up in a huge way to make sure that we have the service connections to that. So we are doing a lot to support other city departments as the need arises and still take care of the critical work that we have going on. At this point, I'd like Nancy to give us a quick briefing on what's going on politically and in the outside world of grants and motions and other things we see. Nancy, can you give us a briefing on that, please?
Sure. So if the City Council had, I'm sorry, we have a question?
Let me just chime in for 20 seconds and tell you that the port director, Gene Soroka, called me and could not have been more appreciative with regard to your ability to provide the bleach for him. It made a huge difference in terms of the operation of the ports.
Thank you. Yeah, the guys did a good job, and Rich's treatment operators just had it down there to them within hours of them reaching out to us. So.
That's what he said, and he was thrilled.
Go ahead, Nancy.
So the City Council met last Friday. They had canceled several meetings as they were working through their technical issues about meeting remotely. They considered 15 items over an 11-hour teleconference focused on protections for residents and small business in the city. So they approved a moratorium on residential and commercial evictions during the pandemic, and they extended a rent payback period in place under Mayor's directive from 6 months to 12 months. And they eliminated a number of fees around evictions, and so really just to try to protect tenants. They approved an ordinance to require large businesses, anyone with 500 employees or more, to provide 80 hours of sick leave. They mandated retail stores to dedicate an hour of customer access exclusively to elderly and disabled. And they considered a number of other items. There were a number of resolutions introduced. Certainly, we've heard from some council members concerns about shutoffs and late fees and utility bills. We are not shutting anyone off. We do not have late fees, or we don't report late payments to credit bureaus. And so the city council meetings have been canceled for the rest of this week, but the city council president can schedule a special meeting when needed. The one other issue around the council that impacts Department of Water and Power is the Charter Section 245, that actions of boards become final at the expiration of the next 5 council meeting days. So they have not addressed that because they have not met 5 times since your last meeting on March 10th, and that would affect today's actions. As we're still working through with the city council how to address that. At the state level, the state legislature is on recess until April 13th. That was their previously announced recess. It's not clear yet. They haven't announced yet what plans, if any, they have to reconvene, or whether there be any changes in the schedule. And of course, Governor Newsom continues to issue orders under the state declared emergency, and he is doing daily briefings as is the mayor. At the federal level, as you're aware, the Congress passed and the president signed over the weekend a large relief package which addresses payments to individuals, expansion of unemployment insurance, small business loans, and support for a number of industries. Of most direct impact on LADWP is they put $900 million into the existing low-income home energy assistance program, which has existed for many years, and that is administered in California through the state Community Services Department. So we're still awaiting word on how that money will flow, but that is something that can be used to help low-income customers with their utility bills. So that was welcome news. The Congress is on recess, but they're contemplating what additional steps they may take, and there is some discussion of potentially the next bill looking at infrastructure. So to the extent that that is the case, we will participate and see whether there's any funding that would become available for projects, either for power or for water. So that's my report.
Thanks, Nancy. Ann, do you want to talk about where we are with both in terms of what we're doing with charge numbers in case there's reimbursement federally, and also if we're seeing any financial hits at this point?
Sure. So for the COVID-19 event, Financial Services has worked with all the divisions to set up work orders to track all the charges that we plan to submit to FEMA for reimbursement. We're also working with the large Public Power Council to understand costs that they're accruing and planning to submit, as well as looking at the documentation. We understand that the LA Convention Center is going to be repurposing their space for patients, so we're going to be working with them to show their utility bills prior to this and afterwards, so that they can also submit their costs for reimbursement. And then as part of the final budget, we are looking at energy losses that we're going to need to predict into the final budget as to how much our sales are going to adjust.
Okay, thank you. Andy and Rich, do you have any comments you want to offer about what's going on in your operations?
Nothing more to add, really. We're still doing work out in the street. However, we're mindful of there's more people at home and there's more cars in the street. So we are just moving our mainline work away from those areas and repurposing that staff to work on a backlog of new services and new fire hydrants. And so we're keeping the crews busy in other areas and just working around the situations that's presenting itself out in the field.
Andy, anything for you?
Yeah, for the power system, we're continuing to work, continuing to prioritize the important work. And again, working to, most importantly right now, on a plan to just sort of distribute some of our crews out to alternate locations so that we can better protect them from this virus. The crews are continuing to come to work. We have minimal people out in the operating districts. Everybody's continuing to work hard, looking at protecting each other and the public. And again, one of the big factors is while there's less cars on the road, people tend to be driving much faster because there's less traffic. So really working hard at protecting our crews from that hazard of additional speed on the streets. So other than that, things are going well so far.
I'd probably add two more things, one out with the public and one with the employees. So with the public, we're also foregoing any shutoffs that we might normally do and putting in a new distribution line just to set up the new meters to that. Obviously, there's more people home and a heightened need for having water to do hand washing and things like that. So we're foregoing some of that work. And then as Andy said, we're keeping our crews away from each other. So really, the mayor's got a safer at work or safer at home, and we're trying to make people safer at work. And so what we're doing is basically, and Andy coined the term for us, we're just working in pods. So even though you have to come to work, we're trying to keep people away from mixing with anyone other than who you normally work with. So in Andy's business, you have to be up in a pole with someone. In our business, you have to be down in a hole. And so that's understood. But otherwise, when you go to a yard, you should just be working and interacting, mixing with the people you do day in, day out. So you're virtually away from the rest of the crews in the yard. And that way, we're not having as much mixing and limiting the potential of transmitting the disease between our employees.
Thank you. And the one thing, so the board knows that we do have, critical control centers for both water and power, and so we're taking additional measures to protect those workspaces and the folks that are there.
So Marty?
Yes.
Marty, this is Rayco. I'd just like to add a few things to that. So we do have our real-time folks and our settlement folks that are monitoring loads in real time. We're working very closely with FSO so that we can understand as this progresses what the impact is. We are also looking at contractual provisions that may be impacted by the ability to get work crews and some of our contractors on site as well as field forces. Excuse me. We have a large transmission project that we have decided not to do because of potential staffing shortages, and if those get the same levels now or even increased than what we're seeing, then it jeopardizes the ability to get that project back by June 1st for summer season. So we're taking a look at these projects project by project and deciding whether or not it's even prudent to continue when we're being conservative.
Thank you. One other thing I wanted to mention, we just created an office that is going to be focused on chasing down potential coronavirus issues in the workplace. To date, it's been the managers of each of the systems and their supportive managers that have had to chase down potential exposures. So we now have an office for employees to call who's tasked with looking at who might be exposed, who maybe was in a meeting with somebody, who potentially could have been in contact, and they're getting in the first couple of days of operation, getting good response. So also helping us with some of our certain facet of the work at home folks. And so that group is up and running, and that's going to help making sure that we're dealing with everybody consistently throughout all areas of the department. Just to be clear again, we've had to deal with issues here at JFB, in one of the district yards in the Owens Valley. So there's no area that's excluded or dealt with differently or not impacted by this. And so we're making sure that new office that we have everybody equally protected and that we're getting on top of any issues to make sure that nothing gets out of hand. I did want to just note that one of the people who's working very hard on this, who likes to see behind the scenes is our CAO, Linda Lee. She's been tasked with getting a lot of these policies and things in place and doing a fantastic job. Shanna Pasquale, Dieter Fernandez, Dr. Israel, Pete Saturco, her staff, plus others have been doing a fantastic job, really doing a lot of work behind the scenes, and I want to make sure that I thank them for their efforts. I know they're everyone's on about burnout mode trying to deal with this, but I think we're finally at a place where we have most of the systems that we need in place right now, and we're hitting a little bit of a steady state in this new environment. If there's any questions from the board, anybody have anything they'd like to ask or comment on?
Marty, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't take the opportunity and just remind the public that their water supply, their drinking water supply, is still an abundant source of clean, safe drinking, pure water.
Thank you, Rick. Very well said. Yes, and the public should know that besides your water being safe, that we are here working to make sure that your water and power stay on throughout this crisis, and that should not be a worry of yours. So thank you. So lastly, my team meets at 8:30 every morning on a virtual meeting. So if any of you are ever lonely and you want to hear a bunch of people argue and talk over each other, you're more than welcome to join us. We'll send you the link. So, which is pretty much our daily experience. So that's the end of my comments. Okay, the next for the budget presentation. So, is everybody ready for the budget? Anybody? Should we take a few minutes?
We can take a break. This will be a good breaking point if we're going to go on a budget.
Yeah, we're going to start the budget presentation next. So would everybody okay if we took about a 10-minute break and reconvened at 11 o'clock to hear the budget presentation? Would that be okay?
That would be great.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and move us into the waiting room, and I will reconvene at 11 o'clock.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Will we then have to unmute again?
Probably just,
You'll have to unmute again, but you can leave it as is, but I'm going to go ahead and move.
Yeah.
Okay.
So far, so good.
All right. I now move
I wasn't going to make the place.
I've now moved everybody into a practice session. I'll resume it at 11 o'clock, and everybody will then be able to manage their own things. Steve, you'll have to share the presentation at that time.
We're all on mute for everything, right? So nobody's picking anything up.
And if everyone has any questions, feel free to.
Are we live?
We're back in open session.
I hear myself. Can you hear us?
Hello?
We're here.
We hear you, Mel. That was Susanna.
I hear Mel. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I'm here.
Why are you shaking your head right in front of me? You can hear me.
With a flag that says 13th behind you.
We are recording.
Yeah.
We are recording.
Movie poster.
Oh, okay. We're live. Okay. Okay, Joe's gonna. Susie's gonna make sure we're all home.
I'm going to do roll call. Commissioner Levine?
Let's hear the budget.
Commissioner Levine, we're going to do roll call.
I only hear Cynthia, or heard Cynthia.
Yeah, I don't think anybody else is talking to us yet, and they don't.
Nicole is on.
Oh, you took that off of mute.
Okay.
Okay, commissioners, we're going to do a roll call. Can you hear me?
Okay, the boardroom is unmuted.
Do you want to confirm you have Susanna?
Yes.
Yes, Susanna's on.
Now there's a full-page picture of Nicole.
I think Steve is controlling this, right?
Steve, can you hear us?
Steve, you need to be resharing now in order to share your PowerPoint, please. Thank you.
Okay,
good.
commissioners, can you hear me?
There we go. Excellent.
Steve, we're going to do roll call again. Is
All right,
everyone
we'll be presenting the
unmuted?
budget.
Steve, we're going to do roll call again.
In the room here,
I think everyone's.
Is
No, we can hear you, but the room is not projecting sound right now.
room seems silent.
Does it have to be that mute button, or do I have to get off that mute button, or
No, I think.
Steve, I'm going to unmute you.
So is everybody on?
Is everyone on?
We're getting background noise. We're not getting broadcast from the boardroom right now.
Well, let us know when to proceed. Yeah.
Okay, see if you can figure that out.
I think the boardroom, it might be on mute internally because you're off mute on the WebEx.
Are we here? Can you hear us here? Can you hear us there?
Steve, can you hear us now?
Can everybody hear us okay? Ian, say something. Can I hear you?
Hello?
are any of those on
Okay.
Just a moment, we're having some technical
Make
difficulties.
sure we have everybody on.
Okay, there we go. The boardroom is now unmuted. Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm
Yes.
going to do roll call. Commissioner
Okay.
Levine,
Yes?
Commissioner McLean-Hill,
Present.
Commissioner Jill Berard,
Present.
Commissioner Reyes. Commissioner Reyes, can you hear me? Commissioner Neiman Brady,
Present. Reyes present.
Commissioner Reyes present?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to item 8B.
Good.
Presentation.
This is Jill Broad. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start the budget presentation. So this is our preliminary budget. I will tell you right now that it's the budget that was prepared for the last meetings has been worked on for the last couple of months. Obviously, things have changed in our world since this budget was prepared. And I'll talk a little more at the end about, Ann and I'll talk about what that might mean for us and what you'll see coming in the final budget. But this does identify the breadth of the work that we believe we need to accomplish in the coming year and setting ourselves up for the years down the road to achieve the key goals of the organization. We're trying to invest a lot in water and power conservation. We're moving toward a local water supply. We're moving more toward renewable energy. And so there's a lot of aggressive efforts in this budget, as well as the ongoing infrastructure replacement that's reflected in here. At the end of the presentation, and there's also some key replacement of a certain IT products and programs that we have here. So at the end, we'll talk about where we see the next steps going, but I think it's important for you to go through this budget and to get this on the table so you can see this is a work that prior to the events of the last month that we have seen as what we need to do this coming year to position the department for the future and to meet the goals of the city. So with that, I'll let Ann start the budget process, and we'll go page by page. And I think we have it on the screen, and hopefully you have the hard copies as well. And we'll go at any level of detail, and we have all the folks who can answer any questions online as well. So go ahead, Ann.
Thank you, Marty. So what we want to do today is go over the budget status, give an overview, talk about the funding, and then go each department by the cost elements, and then we'll go over our financial plan summary. So for the status, Charter Section 684 requires the department to adopt a preliminary budget for informational purposes only and transmit that then no later than March 31st to the City Council. So that is the purpose for today's item, is to get your approval to transmit this informational budget. It's not anything that you have to say is final, but we are going to continue to work on it, and it is a starting point for us. So the fiscal year 2021, we developed this budget in support of our strategic plan, our approved rates, and our financial plans to support infrastructure investment, comply with regulatory mandates, and provide exemplary customer service. And as we work through this, our goal is to continue cost control and fiscal discipline to maintain our low-cost borrowing. And we also did this to align ourselves with the goals of the LA's Green New Deal. So for fiscal year 2021, the preliminary budget is $7.8 billion, which is approximately $1.3 billion higher than the approved budget for fiscal year 1920. As you can see, there's quite a bit of money in the power system. That's not just staff, but that also includes their fuel and purchase power budget. On water, it includes their purchase water budget. The CAO's budget includes all of our healthcare payments. And then for financial services, this is where we include all of our debt service payments, our contributions to the retirement plan as well.
So Ann, will you just walk through again at the bottom there, where we are for last year's actuals and then approved versus reestimate?
Sure. So for the approved for fiscal year 1920, it was $7.4 billion. The divisions have went through and re-estimated their 1920 budget and believe that by the end of the fiscal year, our actual expenditures will be closer to $6.9 billion. So based on that, they've taken a look at their preliminary budget, and there are still quite a few programs that we want to continue funding. And so our current estimated preliminary budget is $7.8 billion, and that is $3.6 billion for power system, $1.1 billion for water system, $848 million for the CAO's office, $463 million for the external and regulatory affairs, $1.7 billion for financial services, and $70 million for the city attorney's office.
Ann?
Yes.
Can you explain generally why the reestimate was so much lower than the approved?
Well, one thing was we had planned for additional hiring that didn't occur. And then the second one was for additional programs where we had allowed for funding for additional power reliability, additional contract work, and those contracts did not get put in place during the fiscal year. And it doesn't look like they will be put in place during the next 3 months.
Yeah, one of the difficult things in the budget, remember, is that we're seeing all of our work is more than a year long for the most part, and sometimes multiple years. And so the budget, again, is a snapshot of 12 months in time. It's not that work is not needed or is abandoned, but it's maybe work that didn't materialize. And of course, on the power side, we had a lot of changes and still continue to have changes in what the scope of the work is in terms of replacing, where we have our coastal power plants and not repowering those, what that work would look like. What we're seeing in our studies. I know the clean grid study we talked about a little bit later on. So there's a lot of things that have been in flux this last year, and so it's not that the work won't materialize in the long run. It just didn't materialize at the schedule that we planned it to be this last year.
Do you expect a substantial amount of that, including the hiring, to materialize this coming year?
We hope so. This is based. So what we have in here, it's an aggressive budget, but it's aggressive plans based on the goals that we have for the department and the city's set for us in terms of achieving renewable energy and local water supply goals. And so now, whether at the end we'll talk about what our financial constraints might be. This budget also, at the time this was created, projected that we'd be moving toward a rate increase down the road not too far, which was on schedule with what the city's plan was following our last rate increase. I think that's something we have to discuss at the end, but this has gone through. We believe this work can be supported and can be accomplished. And so ideally, this is based on real timelines, at least the timelines that were real as of at least a couple months ago. Go ahead, Ann.
Thank you.
So this slide is the department staffing, the department's APR and occupancy trend. APR is our annual personnel resolution, which is the number of employees our maximum amount we can hire. And in this preliminary budget, we're asking the board to increase that from 11,263 to 12,300. And as you can see, that is the line at the very top. That's our annual personnel resolution. And it's back in 1990-91, we were close to 11,300 back then. And so we know that it takes staff to do all the work that the department needs to do. Now, the red bars, that represents our head count over the years. So we're currently at 10,687 positions. And then our goal is, as part of the preliminary budget, to get to 11,553 positions. Now, as much as our APR is 12,300, budget-wise, we don't think we can hire that many people. So what we do is we have a funding head count, and that's the 11,553 positions. So just to make sure everybody understands it, our head count is the red bars, and our head count that we believe we can get to is 11,553 for our preliminary budget, and our annual personnel resolution is 12,300. We know we may not be able to hire everybody, but as part of the final budget, we are hoping that you will approve our APR so that we can hire the people that we are able to hire.
Right, and the APR gives us the flexibility within positions to also have the positions allocated that we can then pick and choose as we go down the road on this. And then currently, so again, we're at 10,000 daily.
10,687, and then hire an additional 866 people to get to that 11,553.
Can I ask a question about the city's hiring process? Do you have an update on their process and whether it's slowed, or I assume it's slowed, but does this number likely get reduced just as a practical
So,
given the practicality.
It's interesting, you know, we were going to, in conjunction with the budget, actually have the head of city personnel, Winnie Macy, was going to be here to present the city's hiring process, and then the second piece was going to be our next meeting to talk about internally our processes. So that, of course, the presentation got derailed by the what's going on right now. So right now in the city, as I said, there's no hiring at City Hall. We have basically frozen our process here because we had a few folks that were ready to start that we needed in critical classes. We're also sensitive to people who may have given notice relieving a job to come here. But at the same time, when we start someone, it requires medical check, background check. Sometimes there's other employee paperwork. So we did not want to also bring on people that cause more people to have to come into the office and do certain functions and create a bigger risk here. So we have, for the most part, stopped our own internal processes. The city did put a hiatus on all the personnel work. So where they had a civil service list, or they call a cert list when you actually go to get a position filled, you put called a certification out, and they basically froze everything in place so that nobody times out, nobody loses their place in line. Basically, everything's just kind of frozen in time, and they've extended all the deadlines accordingly. So after this, I think we'll be getting back to normal. I hadn't thought of it until you just mentioned that question, but if the city is actually not hiring, then it may be that we have more people at city personnel who can work solely on the things that we need because we are hiring. And so in that sense, I don't know that right now everything's basically at a halt. I don't know that when we get back going again that it'll be necessarily any slower than what we have now, just because, like I say, we may be the only hiring game in town for a while. I don't know, Linda, if you're online. I don't know if Shannon's online, if anybody has anything they want to add to that. Linda, do you want to add anything to that, or Shannon? I don't know if he's on the phone or not.
Shannon's not on the line, but this is Linda. We've already pretty much covered it all for us. Everything is on hold, and we're hoping to, as soon as everything restarts, everybody can pick up exactly where they left off so that there's no restarting from the very beginning again.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
The people that you want to hire, that 800 and something?
866, yes.
Are they going to be in a particular area, or is that kind of just across the board that's the additional people that you would like to hire?
It is across the board. I believe the largest, when we increase our APR, and you can see it on this next slide, a large portion of the increase is going to the power system. So our increase in APR is 473 positions. In this amount, we do have 167 positions right now in the general manager's office. So as we're going through the fiscal year, if there are programs that need special attention, the general manager can allow a division to have additional staff. He can release it from his budget to fund various programs.
Does this also take into consideration those people who have left or are leaving? I know that we're having a lot of retarees.
Mm-hmm.
This would be excluding those. Our goal is to get...
So this is net of that,
yes.
Yeah. So we are having a lot of folks leave, and there's a different... that's not evaluation. Linda can tell me the word from retirement, but for folks that are, there's been an increase in retirements because some of the retirement benefits will change, I think, July 1st. And so we will be losing people, but we need to replace those people. But also, in order to do the programs and the work that we'd projected, we do need to add additional folks. I think also to add what Ann said, the folks that we're adding, it's not just bodies, it's bodies identified specifically by each of the systems to do certain things. So it's not just hundreds of people, it's certain of IT programmers, certain number of linemen, certain number of water utility workers, certain number of call center employees or customer service reps that can handle rebates. So it's all very specific people in very specific areas and certain classifications. It's not just a lump of people in general. So they are identified, and it does match up to the work that we project to do.
Right.
Because we certainly must know where we have the deficits, where we need people.
That's correct. And I mean, for instance, so remember we've talked the last month and a half or so about the fact that our rebate programs have kind of gone gangbusters, at least until just now. And so we've had vendors in here saying they're waiting on their solar rebates, for some of the bigger programs. And so, Sharon has been adding folks into that area, but that takes from another area. So we know we have increased workload in certain places, so we specifically identify we need 8 additional customer service reps here, or we need certain numbers. So it is very specific, broken down into exactly what we want to have positions for. It's not just a volume of people that we're then going to disperse.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So based on our current occupancy of 10,687, 3,345 are in the joint system, 2,107 are in the water system, and 5,235 are in the power system. So on this slide, it shows our current occupancy, and then our funded, which is the 11,553, that's what's reflected in the dollars in the budget. And then our annual personnel resolution of 12,300, this would be the maximum each system could hire. And at the bottom is the dollars that's in our preliminary 2021 budget. So we have labor of $1,367 million, overtime budget of just under $300 million, and then benefits of $858 million, for a total of $2.5 billion in our labor budget for fiscal year 2021. So from the power system standpoint, this is the dollars that power system is going to be contributing to the fiscal year 2021 budget. The 1920 approved budget was $3.4 billion. They've re-estimated it to $3.2 billion, and the preliminary 2021 budget is $3.6 billion. The increase in this is mostly due to contract work, which is more currently planned for reliability work, and also transmission work. So on the power systems budget, of the $3.6 billion, $1,574 million is fuel and purchase power costs. And this is projected to support sales of 22,343 gigawatt hours, and it's projected to support 41.5% of that energy as renewable. And the current year re-estimate is 38.8% renewable. So you can see from the chart, we spend $690 million on renewable projects, $413 million on coal and nuclear. Natural gas is $275 million. And then other includes economic purchases, power from Hoover Dam, and other costs for the remaining of $194 million.
So real quick, Reiko, I don't know if you're there, if you want to comment on what the costs will look like, but so the coal, we'll see that drop when IPP converts over, right? So we'll see that drop. And you'll see for some time, probably when the IPP, a growth in gas, and then as we work toward hydrogen, then that ideally would go toward renewables and the gas would drop. Reiko, you want to comment on that fuel purchase power blend at all?
Marty, I think you're absolutely right on that. By 2025, that coal will drop down to zero. But as you know, we're replacing that coal plant with gas, so that will be converted to hydrogen, green hydrogen in the future. So you will see an increase in the gas until that hydrogen comes online, and of course the renewables will continue to increase as we ramp up more and more higher levels of renewable portfolio standards.
What's the current estimate of when the hydrogen will start coming online?
So that plant should be online in June 2025, and at inception it should have 30% hydrogen capability. Now we have to phase this because we have to also install the plant will be capable of using that, but we also have to install the facilities that will actually convert the overgeneration of renewables to hydrogen. And it's a dance because we want more renewable contracts, but you can't bring those contracts on until you have the plant ready and transmission upgrades and changing the converter stations, rebuilding those till all those facilities are online. So to reduce our risk, we probably will phase that in. We won't be 30% from day one, but we will be adding more renewable.
Rayco, is it a dollar for dollar trade or something other than that as the renewables go up and the gas goes down?
So as gas goes down, hydrogen will increase. Hydrogen is much more expensive than gas, but we're also believing that the cost of renewables will continue to drive down to where the incremental cost of renewables will get close to it approaches zero. It started at 100. We're probably at $20 or so for just solar, but taking all that over generation that we'll have in the springtime and using that to create the hydrogen to have it ready to run for those plants in the peak periods, as well as when the intermittent renewables are not available. That line will largely use the renewables, but you need something to make that reliable, and that will be the use of the gas plant to fill in the blanks.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to Andy and Rayco to talk about power system accomplishments and their strategic investments.
For the power system, we have a number of projects that we've completed, not only for us, but other agencies too. So biggest on the left-hand side would be the MSC substation for the LAX expansion project. That is a multi-billion-dollar project. We will be building a whole new substation for them, RSX. That project will be about $120 million, and the bulk of that will be funded by LAX. A small portion will be funded by us because of the reliability aspect that it provides. We've also done over a mile of conduit work for both Metro and LAWA. It's spent about $4 million between those two projects to help them with their expansion projects. And on the bottom right-hand side again is the LAWA, the airport projects to get their automated people mover going and their whole restructure of that whole compound. Next slide.
This is the renewable and reliability.
Yes, and so a big effort that we've been focusing on is the electric vehicle program. We have a goal to have 10,000 electric vehicle chargers by 2022, and that'll ramp up to 28,000 by 2028 by the time the Olympics should be here. We've spent over $10 million in rebates, for the largest portion of that obviously is the commercial, because those are the most expensive ones to put in, as well as level 2 chargers and residential. There are currently over 55,000 plug-in electric vehicles in LA, with over 3,800 commercial charging EV stations available. We also have rebates in the queue for an additional 5,400, so that significantly expands the amount of charging available to folks coming into LA. As you know, I think in October you approved the expanded rebates, and since that time we've had a 400% increase in the rebate application. We've also done the $1,500 rebate for the used EVs, primarily targeting multifamily and environmental justice communities to allow them to also participate in this transition. In the middle for solar, we have a total of about 400 megawatts of local solar. That's a combination of the net energy metering, the utility built that our crews built, as well as the feed-in tariff. The feed-in tariff are the largest scale projects that we take the output versus the net metered, which is on somebody's roof, and they use that to serve their own load. We anticipate to have another 50 megawatts next year. And on the fleet services, we do have in the budget to purchase 2 helicopters. Those helicopters are used for a number of things. For the human external cargo, I don't like that name, but when we transport our crews to do surveying, power line patrol, aerial security, et cetera. These will be an updated fleet to allow a more reliable and safe transportation for those folks. Next slide. Not sure if you're aware, but Scattergood Airport Line 2 was placed in service early this month. That should increase the reliability of the airport because it reduces the number of splices and points of failure by replacing that cable. We also completed the replacement of the AC and DC filters and system controls at the Sylmar switching station. On Haynes, we had the generator rotors that were successfully replaced in December of last year. And then the bottom right, it shows what our distribution asset replacement programs are. So if you look at poles in 2015 and 16, we installed about 2,000. Currently, we expect 4,000, then it'll go up to 4,000 next year also. Cables, 33 miles in 15-16, we will go up to 50 this year and 55 next year. For the cross arms, we had about 8,900 in 15-16. That increases to 10,000 this year and next year. And transformers, we replaced 780 in 15-16. We are up to 850 this year and expect the same amount next year.
Andy, can you briefly just talk about the changes in materials and how we're trying to modernize what we have in the distribution system out there to hopefully have things last longer than they have historically?
Yeah, so right now, currently, more and more, we're going with new pole loading requirements, and, as we go forward here in the future, installing insulated wire that'll better protect our system and keep us safer from wildfires. All of that is a little heavier, so what we've done is we're going to more steel poles as opposed to wood poles. With steel poles will last longer, won't be subject to some of the the other things that bring them down, woodpeckers, bees, rot from moisture. We're putting in fiberglass cross arms that have a much longer lifespan and don't have the same fatigue factors. And so all of that will, one, help protect us as we go forward in dealing with wildfires, and also it will help us in just material lasting longer. What's not in here is you guys will see a contract coming forward in the next few months for another overhead contract to deal with just wildfire hardening, where we'll be bringing in contractors to replace poles, install the insulated wire in the Tier 2 and Tier 3 fire areas, starting with the Tier 3. So that's not shown on here, but will be something that's very important for us going forward in this next year.
Yeah. And to be clear, it's not shown as a call-out item. It is budgeted for, though. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my questions really go to trying to put together the outline of the accomplishments and strategic investments, to kind of compare that to budget adjustments and earlier comments about projects being delayed or things that we thought to do didn't happen, etc. So what would be helpful for me would be to understand not just what we accomplished, but whether these accomplishments are in line with or on track with what our goals were in each of these areas. So I can read what we achieved, and I can see that these are all very important things to have achieved. I just don't know to what extent, these, both as it relates to how they were prioritized and the degree to which we've made sufficient progress from the perspective of the department against what our ultimate goals in these areas.
That's a great point. And so what we'll do is we'll get you we'll give you exactly where we didn't spend the money. So we want to know what we didn't get done for whatever reason that we didn't spend the money, and then what that means to us, and then what we're going to do differently so that we can spend what we project next year. That's what you'd like to see. Instead of just a block of money, want to know where it actually hit that we didn't do something.
Yeah, because I assume, it's one thing to lay out what the accomplishments were, but again, unless I know what the goal was, it's difficult to determine whether we are perfectly on track to achieving our long-term objectives, whether we accomplished X, but it still fell a little short of what we might otherwise have wanted to accomplish in order to meet the long-term objectives. And then I'm certain, just based on the budget revise and prior comments, that there are things that we think were important to have done that we may not have gotten done, and we may have actually overperformed in other areas. So that would be good to know as well, that we believed we could get X done, we got more than X done, or we shifted our goal because of some other externality, and really really pressed, put our foot on the gas with respect to certain strategic initiatives, and may have pulled back on some others just because priorities changed. So it would be helpful to understand some of this with that level of context.
Okay, certainly. And we have that information. We'll bring it to the surface. Yeah.
And between now and the final budget, we do have a few board meetings. So that's a great comment. We'll work on that one. And then any additional ones, we could also bring that during the board during the April timeframe.
Right.
So moving on to the water system, fiscal year 1920, the approved budget for water was $913 million. The re-estimated budget for water was $856 million. And now the preliminary budget for 1920 is $1,107,000. And most of the change in this was due to contract work. And so during the fiscal year preliminary budget, we do have additional money budgeted for water quality improvement, trunk line improvements of $85 million, groundwater remediation of $65 million, and additional services, meters, and hydrant work. Included in water systems budget is the purchase water budget. The fiscal year preliminary 2021 has $241 million of purchase water expense to support sales of 213,000 million 100 cubic feet of water. This is the estimate based on the March, so this amount may drop. And this is just a reminder that our rate structure, 66% of the charges for water system are passed through, and approximately 50% are on power are passed through. So as our purchase water becomes a more true number, we will revise this estimate up or down every 6 months to ensure that we have the sufficient resources to pay for the purchase water we need.
Right. And so, and on this, even since we did this chart, we've had some pretty good snow up north. So Rich might have an idea where this is going now. I think the 58% is below. But again, in the water budget, you'll see this number carried as a part of the budget. But it does. This is one of the couple pass-throughs that we adjust twice a year. It's a 12-month look ahead, a 12-month look behind, look back at history. So it's always on projection and also reconciling with the past, and that keeps the number from changing too dramatically. But it does, in a year like this was looking to be a pretty bad year for a while, our purchase water would go up. Rich, I don't know if you have any preliminary feedback on what we see in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's ticked up just a bit. The slide there says 58% are normal. We're now up to 61%, which is good, obviously below normal, but I'll remind the group again that 6 out of 10 years you can bet on any particular run-up year to be below normal. So it's normal to be below normal.
And then I'll turn it over to Rich to talk about water systems accomplishments and strategic investments.
Sure. Just to highlight one big effort, and this effort has really dominated the last 3 decades, 30 years, often commented, Marty's in my career, has been to deal with the federal government's mandate on us on the surface water treatment rule and disinfectant byproducts rule. And that required us to go through all of our open reservoirs throughout the city, mostly within Santa Monica Mountains, and cover those or otherwise remove them from service. And so you've got a depiction there from Upper Stone Canyon Reservoir. This is the last reservoir that we covered. And on the lower right there is our Los Angeles Reservoir UV disinfection plant. Both of those are really are literally the last 2 projects to come in compliance with both those rules, along with numerous other projects that we've had over the last 30 years. And that effort has dominated what we have been doing over the last 30 years. On the upper right there is really our poster child for our infrastructure improvement program. It is our mainline replacement, and you can also include in that our trunk line replacement program. So you do see the replacement rates that we have there, and based on Commissioner McLean-Hill's comments, we will overlay those with what our goals were over these past several years on our next presentation. But suffice it to say, as you said, there are some years where we've gone over, and there are some years that we haven't met that goal. Obviously, this year is because of the situation we're going through with the coronavirus. We will be below our numbers on that. On the second slide, the next slide, I should say, we have a huge goal before us to get the city to be sourcing its water 70% locally. We buy the predominance of bring in the predominance of our water imported, and a lot of that is purchased water. So within moving to 70% local supply, we want to reduce our purchase waters by 50%. One of the main ways we're going to do that is really using our groundwater basins, either through stormwater capture or putting in groundwater through recharging efforts. So your board earlier this year approved 2 groundwater treatment plants to be built in the San Fernando Valley that will really unlock the potential of our San Fernando Valley groundwater basin. The picture there is of the Tujunga Spreading Grounds. This is a combined project with us and the county. We actually own the land, and the county operates this for us. They built the project, and we funded a great portion of that. It's been under construction for about 3 years, and just in these March storms, the project took in its first water to be able to put basically more water in faster through these groundwater basins. The picture on the right is a depiction of our pipeline, resilient pipeline network. This slide talks about sustainability of our water, but part and parcel with sustainability is resiliency, and one way that we are enhancing the resiliency of our supply is through this resilient pipe network. And basically what we want to do is link critical supply lines to the pressure zones. We know that there are a number of seismic zones throughout the city of Los Angeles, and basically what we want to do is place an arterial grid on top of that network so that we will always have a backbone within the network of a series of trunk lines and distribution lines that can withstand the rocking and rolling of an earthquake. And primarily what we want to do is connect within that zone critical customers such as hospitals, fire stations, and things like that, and even schools. So we're accomplishing 2 things. One is to just keep the water moving in a seismic event, and especially making sure that we have our critical customers connected during those events as well. That's all I have on those 2 slides.
So real quickly, just on the previous slide, just so the commissioners know, on the bottom right picture was a picture of a long white building, and just as a point of pride, that is the second largest UV plant in the country, following the one that serves the city of New York. And we currently have the second largest plant, which is on the other side of that reservoir, up by the filtration plant. So we'll have the second and third largest UV plants in the country when this one is completed. So we are doing some new and innovative and remarkably large projects. Go ahead, Dan.
So the next organization is our Chief Administrative Officer. So for fiscal year 1920, the approved budget was $814 million. They've re-estimated it to $726 million, and the preliminary budget is $848 million. In this budget, the majority of the increase is due to contracts. And so as part of this preliminary budget, we've seen facility additions of $16 million in the contract dollar amount, as well as professional services related to IT projects, including cybersecurity, the billing system, and the ERP. And one major component of this is the healthcare payments for our active employees and our retirees for those premiums. And I'll turn it over to Linda Lee to talk about joint system accomplishments and strategic investments.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here with Louis Carr, who is our Chief Information Technology Officer. So I'm going to go over the other stuff, and Louis will give us more of an overview of the IT project itself and what he's done this past year. So you've seen a lot of big, innovative projects, like Marty has said, that the water system and the power system has completed. And so our role in this is to ensure that we provide support for them to be able to do those projects. And one of the critical things that we do is space management. This year, previously, you approved the Pacific Stock Exchange lease and the purchase of San Fernando Road. So these two facilities alone are going to help us over 200,000 square feet of office space that we can utilize for our staffing. So this next year, as the project moves on, we're going to be converting a lot of the Pacific Stock Exchange into office space that we can move some of our staff from the John Ferrara building here to better communicate between different groups within the building here. And then also on the bottom, you see some of our other buildings that we do. So we're constantly working on improving our office space for both our internal staff and our field folks. One of the big items that we put into the budget was for our facilities maintenance group, which has been a little bit of a mishmash group for the past few years. But Marty's initiative this year was to make sure that we take care of our internal customers, which is our own employees. And so a big part of our budget is to put together a proactive scheduled preventive maintenance program. So that's also the dollars you're going to see in the budget for the facilities group next year. I'm going to skip the information technology and let Louis talk about that. I'm going to move over to security, HR, supply chain. So we've done several camera and video security enhancements at multiple locations. I didn't put the facilities on here because they're part of the NERC requirements, so we maintain confidentiality of them. You also, as the events are unfolding with COVID-19, so the contract that you approved for our security group has been instrumental in making sure that we have the security personnel on site to protect our facilities. So if you're around any of our facilities right now, you see a lot of contract security supplementing our personal staff. You hear it all the time, about the hiring that we're doing and how long it takes to do hiring at the department. But this is the 2161 is there's constant. This is only as of fiscal year to date when we put the slide together. We're constantly doing hiring them, but because of the civil service process, it's a lot of hires to fill a net increase. So when we do the presentation for you on the hiring process itself, you'll get a better understanding of what 2161 actually equates to in net increase in hiring that we do. It's a constant work for us that we're constantly doing, but it doesn't show a lot of increase in the end. Along with this, Shannon's group has been very instrumental in making sure that we have targeted recruitment. So we've been very innovative in making sure that we reach out to certain fields that we have not been able to successfully reach people in the past. So we are participating in a lot of women engineers, national security, black engineers, so all over the place where you're seeing a presence of DWP employees and staffing there to better recruit and give us a more diversified workforce. On our supply chain, and another thing that's been very critical as these events are unfolding, the emergency supplies that we've had to get and the issues that we've had with the supply chain itself because of everybody needing certain types of equipment like masks and Perel and hand sanitizers and all that. So our supply chain is critical in ensuring the safety of our workforce. This is just as a snapshot of last year. We had 50,007 procurements, but like I said, since then we've had a lot we've been very diversified, thinking of different ways to deal with the issues that we've had. And also Karen's worked, her group's worked very closely with the cities to establish the LGBT certifications in our procurement process. And I'm going to turn it over to Louis Carr right now, but before he gets started, I just want to mention that also as part of the COVID-19 event, ITS has been instrumental in making sure that we have been able to get our workforce out of the building, meaning that they have, today's meeting was, ITS was very heavily involved in making sure that this meeting was able to be accomplished. But they were also very instrumental in making sure that our employees are able to work remotely from home in the safety of their home and thinning out the office space. So I'm going to let Louis take the information.
Good morning, Commissioner. I'm just going to talk about a couple of the items, and of course, if you wanted more detail, I'm sure you will ask. One of the items that I wanted to highlight was the upgraded key component of critical corporate cyber security infrastructure. We've done upgrades to some of our technology around firewalls, our intrusion protection system, our load balancers to get us on the current state of some of the technology in those areas. Another area, we completed our Windows 10 deployment. Not only does that offer more business functionality to our Windows computer users, but it also offers more security as well. As many of you are aware, Windows 7 is no longer being supported by Microsoft, and thus no more security patches for Windows 7. And the last item at top of mind is upgrading the internet infrastructure. Over the past several weeks, we've been working to improve our internet infrastructure. That's the bandwidth that we have into and out of our building, and it's come in very handy as we've started to do telecommuting over this last couple.
And on slide 18, this is the major technology investments that we have proposed for fiscal year 2021, $157 million for multiple projects, and then $2.5 million for the one-year projects.
Louis, are you going to describe those, or you go ahead?
Yes. In terms of the larger multi-year projects, some of those projects are headed up by IT, and some are headed up by individual divisions within the department. As an example, distribution automation is headed up by new power business in Jeff Caribou's under power systems. The second item, customer information systems upgrade, that is headed up by IT. And when I mean headed up, that means we take the role of the project manager. We are responsible and contract administrators. We help define the milestones. It's not just IT. The CIS upgrade includes the customer service division, FSO, new power business, as well as ITS. That particular project, we continue to make progress on it. We were about to start our UAT, user acceptance testing, but with the telecommuting, we're going to reconvene and rethink how we're going to do that to continue to move this project forward. The next project, the Enterprise Resource Planning Initiative, we've made good progress on that as well. We've issued the RFQ, and we're nearing the process where we're going to have on-site vendor demos so we can select a vendor. Again, because of the COVID-19, we're rethinking that strategy. We still can do WebEx like we're doing today for demos and things like that, but we have hit that milestone and continue to move forward on that. The customer experience investments, those are led by CSD. The energy imbalance market, that project is led by Power Systems. The budget system replacement, that's led by Financial Services Organization. The geographic information systems, that's led by Power Systems. And the Maximo Asset Management, that's led by IT. And in the current version, you may recall that the board approved an RFP for Maximo support and services. This will allow us to invest in more mobile technology for Maximo. better integration with Power Systems GIS, and several others. As it relates to the one-year projects, we're looking at a case management system for EEO, external and regulatory affairs, a couple of systems there. Again, they're taking the lead on it, and IT is just offering the support for them as well. Customer flow management, that's a CSD initiative that we'll be supporting. And fleet focus, an upgrade from an older version to a new version for fleet division.
The next organization is the External and Regulatory Affairs. So for fiscal year 1920,
Can I come back real quick?
Sure, sure.
Louis, before we let you go, last year when we had budget discussion, there was a lot of talk about IT and IT staffing and how we were suited. So, Louis, I know you had requests in for additional staff. Can you respond to just how your staffing looks, what your projection is, and if you think you're adequately resourced?
Yes. Several weeks ago, Linda and Marty gave us 82 new positions spread across all the different IT areas, including cyber, ERP, distribution automation, and the CIS upgrade. So once we unfreeze the hiring and continue to move forward there, we should have resources on hand to move forward. In addition, there are a couple of, I mentioned the ERP RFQ. There's also the cybersecurity RFP that we hope to award maybe in the new time frame. Getting those contracts in place, plus getting the staffing in place, will be key to moving these initiatives forward.
Thank you.
Also, just quickly before we move forward, from Joint Systems Chief Administrative Officer's presentation, I just wanted to comment that I am happy to see the emphasis on the internal customer as you focus on space management. I spent a good part of last year being very focused on the internal working conditions of our staff. And I continue to look forward to a deeper dive on not just where we are, but timelines around, or benchmarks for ultimate improvement of those conditions. And I know that there are things that have been done internally, but I at this moment don't really know what the status is. And I'm also very interested in understanding, in addition to the restaffing, what the timelines are for the longer term relocation plans. So, but just happy to see the added focus there. And I don't want to just kind of gloss over, especially supply chain. The sort of number of procurement, 57,000, is a very big number, but a huge bottleneck within our organization has really been around procurement and procurement practices. And we've got enough recent experience to want to I think, understand moving forward how we are going to ensure that we are able to procure the kinds of resources that this organization needs in a time frame that works, and what, if any, other practices within procurement might be established to do it more effectively. So I just don't want to let that get lost in the midst of all of the other things that we are focused on.
Thank you. And so one of our efforts is to streamline the procurement process. There's certain rules and regulations that we must follow as a government agency and also as part of the city. There's also, I believe, a lot of things that we've put up as processes internally that have become roadblocks over the years. And so my goal is to challenge everything that we do and how we do it and ask ourselves why we're doing it that way and if there's a better approach. So we have a lot of history in I don't know that we necessarily need to repeat it forever on at this point. And so I'm looking to question all that and see what we really need to do, and what we're doing that really adds value to the process, and what we're doing that just kind of puts us in circles. And it's not just on procurement; it's also that the divisions and the people that are writing RFPs or material proposals. There's a lot of people who have their hands in a document on the way out the door, and how to streamline that process and the handoffs, and to make sure that we minimize the amount of paperwork that we create for ourselves, to me, is very important. So we're looking forward to try to make this work better for everybody.
So just add on to Marty's comment. Just to add on to Marty's comment, so the procurement Aaron's side of the house, they've done some very innovative kind of thinking and trying to figure out what they need to do to improve our own processes. So right now, Erin and her staff are looking through how do we replace the ERP system, what they need to do as far as getting the bidding process online, because that's one of the big detriments to us. The other thing that they're also doing is looking at reorganizing the work within themselves and to facilitate the work flow. So right now we do a water power joint system, and maybe we go to some process where we do it by the type of procurement, so that it's more consistent in how we apply it rather than doing it by system-wide. And then also, as of a few months ago, we started implementing a training program department-wide, so that not just buyers and people inside purchasing understand how to do the process. We want to make sure that staff throughout the organization understand how purchasing works and what they can do to help get the process to purchasing in a manner so that they can move faster once it gets.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay,
Our next section is the external and regulatory affairs, and this includes energy efficiency, customer service, public affairs. So for fiscal year 1920, their approved budget was $389 million. It's been re-estimated for the current fiscal year to $361 million. The preliminary budget for 2021 is $463 million. The majority of the spending in this organization is contracts, and this is mostly related to energy efficiency and providing energy efficiency to our customers. And then in fiscal year 2021, we've seen an increase in materials of supplies, and that's really due to replacing some of the remittance processing center equipment that's in this building. And as part of, when we look at the budget, we accumulate all of the customer benefit programs that are facing our customers. For fiscal year 2021, we have in our budget $204 million for energy efficiency, $47 million for electric transportation, and then we have the power system incentive programs for solar and demand response of $31 million, and water conservation program funding of $26 million.
So if you look at those programs, you notice that they're all going up. The only one that's going down is the solar incentive payments. Remember that our rooftop solar rebate is going down, and I think nearing zero. So, but then there are different solar programs. So that program was designed by the state to phase out as the rooftop solar became more normalized, but then there's other solar programs and other efficiency programs, so the rest of those programs are all growing per plan.
And as part of this organization, serving our customers is one of our key items. So from calendar year 2019, our average call wait time was 95 seconds. On average, almost 96% of the bills were sent out on time. For meter reading, on average, 97% of meters were read during calendar year 19, and then during calendar 19, 1.9 million calls were handled by the call center. And I'll turn it over to Nancy Sutley to go over the additional accomplishments and strategic investments.
Yeah, thank you. Just on the call wait times, you can imagine they've crept up some over the last few weeks. We've been trying to make sure that there's adequate spacing for the call center but today they seem to be back down to normal. We've gotten a lot of messaging out about no disconnect, no late fees, and that's helping, as well as some managing of the staffing. There we go. Next slide. So as we look at accomplishments over the last year, one of the things that customer service has deployed is the Qmatic queuing system in some of our busier customer service centers, and that's really helped to improve the customer experience. They've continued to hire customer service representatives and get them trained and out on the phones and in the customer service centers to make sure that we're able to serve the customers. They've come up with online rebate forms for the EV rebates, and implemented the outage notification feature, which also helps to deal with a number of the calls, and are getting some good recognition, particularly for the utility business customers. As we look forward to FY 2021, Louis talked about a number of these already: the customer relationship management system, upgrading the IVR, the interactive voice system, so that it's more functional and can help again manage the calls. We need to lease a couple of new locations for customer service where the leases are expiring, and looking for further opportunities to deploy the Qmatic queuing system in the other customer service centers, since they've been very successful and help to manage folks when they come in. At the moment, as you can imagine, our customer service centers are closed to the public, although people can still drop payments off in the drop boxes. We go to the next slide. So looking at the rest of the external regulatory affairs, our environmental affairs, we did, working with the CAO, achieve the LEED Zero Energy for the John Ferraro building, first building in California to do that. We continue to support a lot of the capital projects with environmental review and environmental mitigation measures, including for the Barron Ridge Renewable Transmission Project, and are able to supplement a number of our programs by selling our low carbon fuel standard credits and other environmental credits to help support our greenhouse gas reduction programs, including EVs, solar, and a number of other things. On the energy efficiency programs, see we achieved the top 10 ranking for the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy. Very big improvement in our standing among utilities. We are meeting our goals around energy efficiency, saving 15% cumulative savings since 2010, and we expect to be able to double that by 2030, and continue to work across the city and with stakeholders to roll out the $100 million multifamily energy efficiency effort, and look forward to continuing that work even in these challenging times. Let's go on to the next slide. Public Affairs also has been trying to increase our reach outside to our customers and to the public. We've been able to increase our news releases on our events, and We've been able to, I think even in this time, effectively deploy our messaging on social media and earned media and through other means to make sure the public knows what's going on. We have effort around our corporate communications and strengthening our communications planning, more videos, more languages. We have a goal on the boardroom AV upgrade. Our community affairs group continues to do lots of community meetings, although not lately. So we did 197 in FY 19-20, and they will continue to support both construction outreach and our major initiative engagement, looking at a number of different projects. Our education programs continue to work with LUSD and others on our Adopt a School program, on the Science Bowl, and reaching out to teachers and students. And then we've been able to also ramp up a number of the customer campaigns around EVs, water quality, energy efficiency, supporting our customers, very importantly, continuing to message about how to avoid scams and raising awareness about scams. That's for me. There are questions.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thanks, Nancy. So the next organization is Financial Services. So for fiscal year 19-20, our approved budget was $1.8 billion. We re-estimated it to $1.6 billion, and our preliminary budget for fiscal year 2021 is $1.7 billion. The largest component of our budget is the bond interest and redemption, and we have in the preliminary budget of $1,009,000. We also fund the retirement and death benefits. Our preliminary budget is $462 million, and that's down from our approved 19-20 budget. As part of the final budget, we'll be looking at that to make sure that we have an amount that's realistic based on the financial markets. Also in the budget is our insurance program, where we purchase wildfire and other insurance, outside insurance for the department, and that is estimated at $76 million. And then we have our contracts, which are mostly professional services, and also city billing contracts that are budgeted in financial services. A couple of line items down is also our healthcare payments. This is under accounting standards, we have to fund retiree medical instead of a pay-as-you-go basis, more on as it's earned. And so we have in our budget an estimate of $32 million in the event that our annual required contribution to the retiree medical is higher than what we actually give in the subsidies. So for our accomplishments and our goals is, one of them is our debt management program, and our goal is to maintain a cost-effective debt. And so we're always looking for opportunities to refinance funds that we've issued. And this year to date, we've done $134 million of outstanding bonds and saved approximately $20 million in present value terms. And for the remainder of the year, expect to refinance approximately $1.1 billion of outstanding bonds and save approximately $112 million. This slide was developed last month, so we're continuing to look at this, but we always look for opportunities to refinance our debt. One of the things we're also working on is our budget system replacement. So we have a legacy 27-year-old system that we're trying to take off of the mainframe. Our goal is to have this done by late 2020, and we are currently 32% complete. And then one of our other major roles is payroll and accounts payable. So fiscal year to date, we've successfully paid on average 11,163 employees because people are always coming in and going out. And then approximately 3,100 vendors, and our goal is to capture, we try to capture 80 to 90% of discounts. Right now we have 78% of discounts, which we save $3.2 million year to date.
Those are by paying on early or on time?
Yeah, paying before the discount terms expire. So based on all of the budget information we talked about, this is the financial plan summary for the power system. So the budget for 2021 is based on a revenue requirement of $4.330 billion, fuel and purchase power costs of $1.574 billion, O&M costs of $1.483 billion, depreciation, property taxes, and other costs of $707 million, for a total operating expense of $3.764 billion. We will expect to have non-operating revenues of $186 million, have a city transfer of $230 million, debt expense of $393 million, and a change in the net position for June 30th, 2021 of $129 million. And based on this financial plan, the assets of the power system would end at $19.5 billion, with outstanding liabilities, mostly bonds, of $13.6 billion, and a net position of $5.9 billion. We would be doing capital investments of $1.8 billion, and we would plan to borrow $854 million. For the water system, our annual requirement is $1.496 billion. Operating expenses would include purchase water of $241 million, O&M costs of $602 million, depreciation, property taxes, and other of $205 million, for total operating expenses of $1,048,000. We would have additional non-operating.
Why is sorry, Ann.
Yes.
And maybe Rich can weigh in. Why is purchase water expected to go up so considerably? Is that something to do with commensurate increase at Med, or is there something else going on?
I believe it's
just a function of the anticipated dry year that we have. So we're only at 61%. Last year, 2 of the last previous 3 years were pretty heavy on precip, so you saw obviously less purchases. So in the end, it is what it is, but we're just anticipating, I guess, conservatively at this point.
Okay, thanks. That helps.
So for water system, we'd have non-operating revenue of $21 million, debt expense of $229 million, for a change in water systems net position of $239 million. And at the end of the fiscal year, they'd end with $11.3 billion in assets, total liabilities of $7.6 billion, and a net position of $3.7 billion. And to do this program, it would be having a capital investment of $920 million, and we would be borrowing $389 million, which would be bonds and also money from the state water loan program.
Just real quickly, so on the power, you notice the transfer to the city of about $230 million, and you note there's no transfer to the city in the water system. That changed a number of years ago. There are specific financial requirements to make the transfer. One of the things that we have to keep our eye on as we look forward and look at not only rates, but just in terms of people's ability to pay and when finances come in, is that it's important to the city that that transfer not be jeopardized. As well as that, there's additional payments. Ann, can you talk about some of the additional fees, because that go to the city?
So in addition to the department's finances, we also collect the utility users tax for the power system. So commercial industrial customers, I believe, pay 10.5%. Residential customers pay 10%. And we collect and remit that to the city based on payments from our customers.
So our total amount that goes over, including other fees and such?
Approximately, I think it's about $350 to $400 million a year, in addition to the city transfer.
Right, so it's a substantial amount of finance that goes to the city that we collect, either because it's a tax or also pay in terms of fees that we owe to the city, street damage restoration fees and other things, as well as the transfer that goes over. So keeping that continuity of that is important for the city budget as well. So something to keep in mind.
This is Fred. To add a little bit more to that, we have tracked net of the fees for collecting revenue for sanitation and certain amounts that go back and forth for pensions and other benefits. The net on payments to the city, what we discussed in one of the prior meetings, that has driven from a range of about 55 million per year to a little bit above that, or up to about 80, I recall 80 million, and that's included in these budgets.
Do I hit the summary there, Ann?
Yeah, so for the summary, this is our preliminary budget. We will be coming back to the board in May with the final budget, and we do show it separately for water and power funds. They are budgeted, they are separate in the city charter, and that's how we show them. And then our joint costs are shown as water and power based on the benefit of the expense. So that concludes my presentation, and I would request that the board approve the transmission of this informational budget.
So let me recap before we take any questions where we are at this point. So this preliminary budget has to be submitted by the end of this month. That's per charter. Again, as I think Joe mentioned before, there's not a penalty associated with it, but we've never not been able to do that. So we'd like to be able to approve and transmit this budget. At the same time, we're under no delusion that we're going to have to make adjustments to this based on what we see as a financial picture going forward. So we will be looking at 2 more versions of this and having to kind of weigh things out over the next month. One will be a version of the budget where we try to accomplish all the things we have set out to do, but without the prospect of a rate increase or maybe a deferred prospect of that. I think we need to know the difference of what we can do under both scenarios, because 5 years ago or 5.5 years ago when we had our last rate action, it was projected that at this point in time we would be moving forward with the necessary rates to accomplish these goals. So if that is deferred, and depending on how the discussion goes, we'll want to know what the impacts look like in the budget. Then at the same time, we'll also try to take an estimate from our own best guess of what do finances really look like in terms of income? Are people going to be able to pay their bills? Are we going to start a different bill pay plan? There's a lot of talk about rent payment and other things. There's a lot of competition for money that a lot of our customers won't have because a lot of them are not currently working. And of course, we don't know how the federal stimulus and different bailout packages, how those will actually materialize in terms of money in our customers' pockets. But we're not going to be in a position, and nor would we want to be in a position where we are the straw that broke the camel's back for our customers being able to survive and live in Los Angeles. So that being said, we'll take a very conservative look at the worst case budget and what that might pencil out to be. But this, I think, is important to show that this is the work that we had planned to do. This is the work that we believe is necessary to keep us on track with the goals of the city. And then from here, we'll have a couple different conservative versions of the budget going forward.
Marty, this is Susanna. Do you know when the next council meeting will be, or has it already been scheduled?
They've not scheduled it yet. This is one of the difficulties because we know, as we mentioned, Nancy mentioned about Prop 245 issues. Also, there's a couple other things we're hoping they'll consider on our behalf. So we don't have a schedule for that. At one point, they were talking about meeting once a week. There's no committee meeting scheduled. I think they had a pretty good experience with their Zoom meeting. They got hacked early on and got past that, but that's kind of normal right now with Zoom. But it was a long meeting. That meeting went for 11 hours or 11 plus hours. The council meeting. Yeah. So, and we had a couple of things that we'd hoped to be considered, but they never even got anything off the basic subject matter that they were dealing with. So we have not heard from them. I know I talked to Rich Llewellyn, the CAO, the other day. City budget is due, I think, sometime this week, and there's so much up in the air from their standpoint that everything that they're doing is probably even less defined than what we're looking at. So there's a lot of questions as to how the city will, what they'll be able to afford to do in the future. We know there's a lot of critical work that can't stop, both here and at City Hall, and so but we're going to try to use this as a starting point and then go from this budget to a couple different options of where we think, depending on what we can afford to get done and how many people we can afford to hire, and what the income statements look like, what realistically we think we should budget for in the long run this year.
This is Fred Pickle, and I'd like to add a couple comments. About a year ago, this board, as part of the interim rate review, requested the department to come forward with a rate review by January 1, 2021. And we support that. We support regular rate reviews. And I think it's good that the final budget will bring forward a couple of different viewpoints of with and without some rate changes. But I think also as part of that, we ought to consider a couple scenarios, or at least two scenarios for with and without rate change, depending on how the health and economic environment might have changed, or uncertainties about the health and economic environment.
So I don't know if
there are other,
go ahead.
Other comments on this, or should we move to the next item?
I'd just like to recap that the things that Commissioner McLean-Hill brought up about putting context around this. We will do that, and because it's important for you to see, we know where we didn't spend money, and some of it will be just projects that didn't materialize, and there'll be discrete reasons. There may be other things in terms of being able to get staff and such for infrastructure work. So we'll be able to lay that out for you exactly, so you can see exactly what's different. Because the rest of the question is, what are we going to do differently to know that we'll spend it in the future to put it in the budget? So if there's not an answer for that piece, then it shouldn't be in the budget going forward as an increase. I've always preached that unless the budget should be really easy. You should just repeat exactly what history has told us, unless we're going to do something overtly different. So for us to show an increase in budget, you're going to want to know what we're doing differently next year than what we're doing currently to actually make those costs realistic. With that, the one thing I would add, unless any more comments, is that we need to approve the budget by sometime in May. Is that right, Joe?
By May 31st.
Yeah, by May 31st. So we have, depending on how often the board elects to meet, whether we do meeting every 2 weeks or do once a month, we do have the ability to answer more questions. So certainly, if there's any questions come up from anybody in the meantime, if they want to send them out, we can get those questions answered. The biggest thing we have is the benefit of time here in case we need to do more presentations or refine anything particular. So certainly any input from the board is welcome, both in terms of answering questions for clarity, and if there's any suggestions or advice about direction we're going or things that maybe you feel that we've missed.
Marty, I just ask you a question along those lines. In light of all the uncertainty and the various scenarios that you're going to be working on, do you anticipate providing something in the interim to the board before we get to the final passage issue, so that we can take a look at how some of these uncertainties are evolving?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would, at the next time we meet, I would like to present another refined, or maybe two different versions of a refined budget. I remember back when David Freeman was the general manager and we were going through deregulation, we ran 3 budgets in parallel. It was the one that we really wanted to get done, the one that we felt we had to get done, and then there was when the chips are down and there's nothing we can accomplish, the bare minimum to get done. And I'm not suggesting we necessarily have to run it like that, but we did look at that, we were able to look at what work we would cut out or where we would refocus. And so that is exactly what I would plan to bring to the board, is to show you a more austere budget and what would be missing from that budget, and then to see if you concur with things that we would say we'd have to push off on trying to achieve.
Think you can do that in, say, a month or so?
Yes, we'll have to. In order to get to a May approval, we can't do that without you seeing something in April that we all agree we're on the right path together.
Good.
And I know that it's definitely more work, but this presentation was very high level, very summary. And you'll recall that last year when we were looking at the budget, we were looking at it with a great deal more detail. I will be eager to see a presentation that is less directed because it's so summary, and that is a little more specific, certainly as it relates to, and I think, Marty, you have it right, as it relates to the priorities, as it relates to what this translates into in terms of what we will be doing and what we won't be doing, based on how much we think we may be impacted by the current financial uncertainty.
Okay, certainly. And if there's suggestions you have or things that you'd like to see, please forward them to us, and we'll make sure we show that. I know last year when we showed the budget, there were some of the pieces that were important were not clearly identified. Like some of the IT efforts were scattered all over creation because that's how they're budgeted internally to us. But that's one of the reasons that we had Lewis pull out everything that was IT, even though it wasn't necessarily something that was in his shop per se, but all the things that he was working on so we could look at that subject matter. So if there is a subject matter, because again, we budget by who's in charge of each particular piece, and believe it or not, it's actually all coordinated here, so we're not all triple counting the same workers do the same thing. But so we have it coordinated here. But if you'd like to see it by a subject or something like that, that will help you to see the overall efforts. We can certainly package it anyway. So if you have anything that strikes any one of you that you'd like to see particularly, let us know, because the data is all there. There's a lot of data there, and we can slice it and dice it and put it forward any way you like.
Thank you.
So this is, Susanna, I just crossed my mind that on the IT projects, we have the multi-year projects, and they're huge. Like CIS is like 48 million. I would like to see how each of those projects intersect with each other, because if they're, huge projects, there might be portions of one project that is waiting for the billing system to be upgraded, for example. So that helps us with prioritizing those huge projects and ensuring that there is a flow from year to year as to how those projects are going to progress. So I'm just it's interesting to kind of visualize how that works. So probably for the next go around is to have IT have like a flow chart or a graphic of how those numerous multi-year projects in one way or another are interconnected or not.
That sounds fine, and more kind of like a timeline, and because some projects may finish and then branch off to becomes the cornerstone for two other projects or something like that. There are certain things that are certainly sequential, so we'll prepare that so you can see the linkage between projects, and also, again, it's the overall timeline, because you're seeing in the budget a 12-month snapshot, and of course realize that all we have to do is have a vendor contest an RFP. Or something that all of a sudden we could lose a month or two at board, and then that pushes off all the finances for a project. So there's a lot of things like that in the timeline that could slide within the budget that you're seeing. So we'll provide something so you see a little broader picture.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very, very much. This was extremely well done, as always, and greatly appreciated. So I think we're ready to move to monthly report water system, February.
What?
Should we vote on this?
Oh, yes. Well, we do it. We vote it.
Well,
is there an item?
Why don't we go to
item 14?
Oh, go. We're fine.
Unless, we'll do it when we get on.
No.
Water system report, monthly report.
Yes, you have this month's report, and I'll take any questions or just contact me later if you do.
Move to approval of the minutes of the March 10th meeting. Susie, you might as well call the roll on this.
Commissioner Levine?
Aye.
McLean Hill,
Aye.
Berard, Berard, Commissioner Reyes,
Yes.
Commissioner Neiman Brady,
Yes.
Commissioner Berard, Commissioner Berard, are
She
you on?
seems to have left the room.
You may be double muted on your phone.
No, she's not there.
Okay, so we'll
Okay.
double back to her later, and all other commissioners have voted yes.
Thank you.
Item 12.
So Ann, you want to describe what that is so everybody knows what the,
Item 12 is a request for authorization to refinance $511 million of power system bonds. The majority of this is the variable rate bonds that are going to be maturing between 2025 and 2030. And we know the market is volatile right now, and we have to have a 3% present value savings to execute this transaction, but we're asking for your approval so when the market changes, we are ready to have this transaction and save approximately $33 million on these bonds.
so Ann, this is not new bonds, this is
It's all
refinancing for a better rate,
refinancing,
right?
Correct.
Are there questions that commissioners have for Ann or Marty?
I know several of you had asked to have this special, that's one, same question I had for Ann was this new money or old money that looks better? So,
All old money that will look better.
Good. Well, I was one of those who wanted it pulled, and that satisfies me. Other questions or comments on 12?
I move approval of item 12.
Call the roll.
Levine, McLean Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Berard, Commissioner Reyes,
Yes.
Commissioner Neiman Brady,
Yes.
Commissioner
Patty,
Berard,
I think she's back.
She's still absent.
Still out. Okay. We'll double back with her on those that she misses. Okay, item 14, I think we just heard.
Right. So
Is there
Ann,
any objection?
this is just, what's the process at this point, Ann?
This is an informational process, so with your approval, we'll transmit the receipts and appropriations budget to the City Council for information.
I move approval.
Second.
Reyes?
Call the roll.
Commissioner Levine, McLean Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Berard, Commissioner
Still
Neiman
absent.
Brady,
Yes.
4-0.
Did you miss somebody? No.
Forgot Reyes.
I'm
I was gonna
sorry.
say- I was gonna say we missed
Commissioner
somebody.
Reyes, I apologize.
Yes.
Okay, so we
once
have,
again, double back with Commissioner Berard later. Everybody else voted yes. Item 15, approval of Clean Grid LA MOU between DWP and Rec and Parks regarding the installation of distributed energy and resiliency resources.
Would you like a presentation, or were there specific questions on this?
I think the ratepayer advocate has specific questions, and then I can follow up with my specific questions, if that will do.
Certainly.
My concern was that this was offered without any specifics in terms of cost, and we would like a specific cost to be set for this next pilot stage of the project.
Do you, I actually have someone who can
We
respond.
recommend either a motion amendment to the resolution or specific report back request.
Okay, and I actually have Arash is here and he can speak to, here comes a friendly face. Is that live there? Can you sit? Let me get Arash is here and let's see if he can help us out. Does that work?
Yes. Hello?
Okay. Okay.
Dr. Pickle, could you repeat the question?
Yes. We would like a specific dollar amount or dollar cap included in the resolution before you go on to the next facility. And in the longer term, we'd like things to continue at a pilot level until we manage to get costs below 17 cents per kilowatt hour for these types of projects.
I think we can start off with the second portion of your question. So with this agreement, the way we've structured it is we're not necessarily coming before the board with requests for funds. We're essentially utilizing existing budgetary mechanisms that are pre-approved by the board. So that said, we would never exceed that amount. Each project stands alone, and a significant portion of each of these projects are actually funded through mechanisms like the cap and trade funding, as well as LCFS credits, low carbon fuel standard credits. So from that perspective, we don't see very significant impact to ratepayers on an individual basis for these projects.
So this sets up the framework then for us to work together. Is that what this basically does without establishing the costs?
Exactly, that's correct. And in the event we have a project that may exceed our normal budgetary costs, we would come back before the board to request those funds on that basis. But that said, there are existing mechanisms in place, so we can leverage those existing funding sources to essentially build these solar, storage, and EV projects at critical Rec and Park facilities.
That point made, but we'd like a specific dollar amount in the record and the amount that's being funded by ratepayers or not. I think it's good to have a record on the cost of these types of projects.
Understood.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Neiman Brady, you had some questions for us, is that correct? Right.
Reyes has some questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Reyes did.
I have questions about, will it need approval from both the boards of the Rec and Parks and our board should the LOA require new or additional funding or changes? So they have to go back to both boards?
In the event there's additional funding necessary, we would come back to our board. In this case, Rec and Parks, for most of these projects, may not necessarily require funds because they're not necessarily putting a behind-the-meter system. But if in the event they do, they would go to their board and request those funds. The other pieces of equipment that will be installed at these sites will be funded through DWP mechanisms. And in the event funding is not available through existing budgetary mechanisms, we will come back to the board to specifically request those funds. So no project will occur without clear validation. And of course, each project would be run through our general manager's office before proceeding. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yes, it does. So the other question I have is, can you talk more about the annual hosting fee by the department for EV chargers at the Rec and Parks operations, park patrons, and park purpose under the charter? What is an average hosting fee? That wasn't clear.
Sure, I'll explain. So what's happening right now in the EV market essentially is vendors will provide a hosting fee to allow EV chargers to be installed. In this case, we wanted to go in line with that mechanism that's in place at other types of projects. So in this case, for the first site, the Green Meadows site, there will be basically a payment of $2,400 annually to host the DC fast chargers that we intend to install here. The idea here is that we could obviously generate revenue from that, and given that funding that we would receive in that end, it's prudent for us to also share that contribution. On top of that, Rec and Parks is structured in such a way that if we were to benefit somewhat financially, they're entitled to recoup funds in some fashion. And we figure this would be a manner which is amicable for both parties.
So is that factored into the rate that the ratepayers advocate is talking about? It's not going to impact that. It's a separate fee.
I don't think the ratepayer advocate alluded to that specific point, but I don't want to speak for him. So if he has a comment on that, I'll defer to him.
I would just like project total cost, both operating and initial capital cost, to be disclosed, and what portion is paid by parties other than by the ratepayers.
Okay, clear. And then my last question is, since the program focuses on PV installation on newer roofs, how do you see that playing out in like older facilities of Rec and Parks with roofs that may need repair, which will then be left up to the Rec and Parks folks to decide if they want to undertake the cost of a roof repair? And given that newer facilities may not be in the disadvantaged communities, I see this like as an equity issue. How can this barrier be addressed jointly?
Okay, good points. So as far as the roof repair, that's part of our selection criteria. So we work with the Rec and Park staff on identifying sites that meet a couple needs. Number one being that it actually helps, and it falls into what we call a distributed energy resource preferred zone, where we want to see solar, storage, and EV projects. Additionally, our focus is to make sure that these sites are not only ADA accessible, they also serve as an emergency cooling center, potentially disaster relief center in the event. But more importantly, it also has an impact to the community, meaning that it actually has impact in high Cal Enviro screens areas. So clean up, green up zones, CUGU as they call it. So the Boyle Heights, the Pacoima area, Wilmington will be a very large focus in our early development of these types of projects. Once we've targeted those locations, we will of course go to the next sites that still fall into our DER preferred development zones. So as far as the roof repairs, of course, that's a priority. We'll have to determine whether it requires minimal repair or a completely new roof. And in that case, it will be a call between both parties to determine if that cost is warranted or if there's plans to redevelop that roof under some other funding mechanism or through city funds.
That helps. Thank you.
Sure.
Brad, are you okay with moving ahead on this and getting those numbers later?
I think the resolution should include a requirement that they be provided as the project reaches the construction stage and at its completion.
So,
yeah, I was going to make that point. Is it possible to simply have that amendment accepted?
You'd have to make a motion to amend the resolution first.
So Cynthia, do you want to make that motion?
Yeah, I move to amend the motion to include a report back requirement consistent with what was outlined by the ratepayer advocate.
And then a second.
Which is a report at time of start of construction and at completion.
Is there any objection to approval of that amendment? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve this item as amended?
I move approval. Second.
Who's second?
It's a tie both ways.
I'm sorry, who second that?
Cynthia the second. Susanna moves to approve.
Thank you.
So Susie, please call the roll.
Commissioner Levine? McLean Hill?
Yes.
Jill Berard?
Yes?
Commissioner Reyes?
Yes.
Commissioner Neiman Brady?
Yes.
Approved unanimously. Commissioner Barad, you were not here when we voted on approving the minutes. And
I can't hear you, Mel.
Can you hear me now?
That's a little better, but you're very faint.
I don't know what to do about that. Susie, please inform Commissioner Barad the items she wasn't able to vote on and see how she wishes to vote on each of them.
Item number 10, recommendation of approval of the minutes for the March 10th, 2020 regular board meeting of Water and Power Commissioners.
Oh, yes, I approve that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Item number 12, approval of the authorization to issue up to $511.37 million of the power system revenue under resolutions number 4968 and 4969.
You're on 12?
Correct.
Yes.
All right, now 12 was item 16 before? Is that correct, with bonds? Had to do with bonds?
Yes, it has to do with the revenue bonds under resolution 4968 and 4969.
I just had a question about number 12, item 12.
Yes, Commissioner?
Yeah, maybe I just might help. So 12 is a refinance of existing bonds. It's not new money, so it's getting a better rate.
Well, that's what my question was, that, in other words, I want to be clear that I understand that this is not something that's going on the ballot.
Oh, no, no, Commissioner. No, this is, we will monitor the market and these bonds. If we see a 3% present value savings, we'll refinance them and lock in that lower interest cost.
We're basically saving money.
Excuse me?
We're basically making this move to save money for the ratepayers.
Okay.
So is that a yes?
Commissioner, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay. And then the last one.
Okay, next item is item number 14. Approval of the two resolutions authorizing transmittal of the preliminary fiscal year 2020-2021 Los Angeles Department of Water and Power budget to the Los Angeles City Council. How do you vote?
I vote to approve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All of those are unanimously approved.
Great.
20.
20?
MOU Department of Service, Second Parks for hydration station initiative.
Isn't item 20 deferred?
21 was deferred. 20, Commissioner Reyes wanted to, some information about that. And I know Rich is online there. 21 and 22 are deferred.
My question on that is just on the outreach level, because I believe this is a huge opportunity for the public awareness about our water quality and avoiding purchase of bottled water and instead use refillable containers. My questions, relate to who will be the lead for the outreach and education of the public, because we have Rec and Parks and we have General Services on this item as well. And I would like to see us coming up with a consistent message and really monitoring the public acceptance and usage of the hydration stations. So I would just like Rich to let us know how that outreach component is going to be deployed.
So yeah, the Water and Power is going to be taking the lead on the outreach on this. To date, we've taken the following initial steps. So we've coordinated with our own public affairs to develop marketing and signage around the hydration stations. And remember, these are going to be located in high traffic areas such as parks, municipal buildings. We're also working with our partners in other city areas, notably LA World Airports and LAUSD, to post signage next to, obviously, the fountains throughout the airports and at high schools. We've also budgeted a good amount for promotional items, significantly stainless steel water bottles for high schools. So we basically intend at this point in concept to adopt certain high schools throughout the city and help promote tap water, and to do that by, giving out water bottles and having not only our message on there, but some type of school pride messaging as well. And some recent efforts we're doing with street services is doing signage at bus shelters. So this is a 5-year program, and obviously we're going to develop, the specifics of, how we outreach throughout that. But those were the initial steps. And I thank you for your encouragement on that. It's right in sync with what we're doing. I mean, we really are trying to push tap water, and there's side benefits as well as getting rid of single-use water, plastic water bottles.
Does this mean, Richard, that what happens to the water fountains at the high school?
So,
are they still in operation?
Well, LAUSD is taking the lead on that. We've been assisting them in testing those fountains and providing technical expertise where we can, but they have their own labs that are dealing with that. We are going to be, when I say working in the high schools, we will likely install brand new drinking fountains with that, ones that we can incorporate signage in there, possibly video signage. So there'll be more up-to-date, modern, brand new lines with obviously clean water lines coming from the tap.
Because as you remember that we had a few discussions with the LAUSD regarding the water that they were just flushing and then throwing it away.
Correct.
And so this was part of it, that they were supposed to be doing something with the water fountains throughout the district.
Correct. So in other efforts, we'll be working with high schools. Obviously, we won't initially get to all of them, but we do want to install brand new fountains, chilled water fountains at certain high schools.
Okay, so are we doing that plus the bottled water?
Well, the bottles are basically the like the hydro flask. We're going to use those as promotional items. When we install a new fountain at a high school, they'll also get that as well.
Okay. Is there a motion?
This is Fred Pickle. We had one comment on this. We support the customer education effort. We think it's a great program, but the creation of a separate regulatory asset to fund this is inappropriate for, we think, something at this small scale. So we recommend it be funded as an expense.
Why is the scale a determinant of the appropriateness of the location of the funding?
We prefer having separate regulatory assets be for larger programs, and we've only done them for larger programs in the past.
Well, we don't have a count on this yet, how many it would be, correct?
The budget is $3.5 million.
No, I mean how many water fountains? You're talking small based on the money, financially?
Financially. Since the budget is $3.5 million, we've typically not done regulatory assets for anything near this small.
What's the breaking point with though? How much more would we have to spend?
It'd have to be an extraordinary item in tens of millions of dollars, or an ongoing thing like the recovery from the billing system debacle, although that ultimately was discontinued as a regulatory asset.
So where would you?
What is the rationale for it being a reg asset, classified in that manner?
Ann?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
What would be
I
the
said,
rationale
what
for
is
this?
the rationale for it being classified as a regulatory asset?
It would be because it's money spent by the water system that they don't own the asset. So if they're going to fund it and they're going to use debt to finance it instead of customer money, then they would use it as a regulatory asset and amortize it over 10 years. And the asset does have a life greater than a year. So I think it meets all of the requirements. It's just a matter of it is 3.5 million versus the larger ones that water system has on its books, which they currently have between their under-over collections, their pension, their retiree medical, and their water conservation, stormwater capture. 5.7% of water system assets are regulatory.
And from a sustainability standpoint, this is going to be ongoing, correct? Because we are not just stopping at the different facilities that we're contracting with now or working with, because GSD may have other facilities that they may need, and Rec and Parks and LAUSD. I'm just looking for to make sure that it is sustainable and it goes on for many years, because it's something that I believe is also in the mayor's Green New Deal LA plan.
Correct. So the item before you is just with General Services and Rec and Parks, so to go in city buildings and Rec and Parks facilities. And the questions before about LAUSD, that'll be a separate initiative. And then on top of both of those efforts, we're going to want to be going out in other high traffic areas throughout the city with hydration stations. So like at county museums or Staples Center, those types of things. So this is one part of a larger effort that will probably span well, over the next decade.
I thought it was 5 years. I thought we said before this was for 5 years.
Sure. So this particular agreement is for the next 5 years for city buildings and Rec and Parks facilities.
Okay, now, so the title of this does not include LAUSD. So you're going to do a separate item for LAUSD?
Correct.
And I think what that budget will be, what that amount will be?
That has not been developed yet, no.
Well, I'm trying, in my head, trying to rationalize why we would need, if we're going to have new water fountains, why do we need to give promotional items or water bottles to students? I mean, it sounds like it's duplicative, that we're doing the same thing. And then will people assume that the water in the bottles is better or fresher than what's in the water fountain?
When I was answering the question before on the water bottles of schools, I apologize. I was mixing up, the different efforts, and there is some overlap. So as part of this, there is a promotional item element to the agreement, and those promotional items will be under this agreement for General Services and Rec and Parks facilities.
Brad, is your only objection to this that the number is smaller than the others?
We hesitate to see the creation of regulatory assets for what are essentially promotional activities. And we think the public education aspect is important, but a basic conceptual debate that's ongoing is a lot of investor-owned utilities expense items like conservation and any customer education efforts, and we didn't want to start a special regulatory asset for something that was a customer education program. We think it should be expanded.
That's a little bit different than what you said earlier, Fred. The first you, Fred, you said it was too small.
This is expanding on my comments, since we're taking a deeper dive in this. There's a conceptual debate of, do you try to capitalize or put in regulatory assets, energy efficiency investments. DWP currently puts those in a regulatory asset, or a lot of investor-owned utilities expense those. This is different in that it's a customer education program in large part. There's some customer education in energy efficiency as well, but this is largely customer education. That's an important process, but we think it should be expensed, not a separate regulatory asset.
And I guess the logic in is that the majority of the money actually is purchasing hydration stations. So it actually is a capital item, and it was a way for us to capitalize us owning those assets, but they're not on water and power property. So the regulatory asset is a way to do that. So what we've done, we've used this in the past for our ultra-low flush toilet rebate programs, where we're actually, buying a piece of hardware, but it's on premises of our customers, or funding their landscape changes and things like that. So that's the consistency that we saw. Fred's right. In the end, it's only $3.5 million, and can tell you whether that's going to be, if we expense that, how much of a rate increase that will be. But putting it on the capital side would be a less hit to the customer on the bill.
Does it make sense to vote for this now and then later do the LAUSD, or should we wait and make them more of a package?
I would suggest not making a passage. We've worked a lot on this, and this is in line with the mayor's goals. The mayor's goal is for us to get going and doing 200 hydration stations, and this allows us to do it right now.
And I think the key partners, General Services and Rec and Parks, are ready for this project as well.
Correct. And they've already started.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, I'll move approval. Is there a second?
I second. Reyes?
Susie, please call the roll.
Commissioner Berard?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Commissioner Berard, what is your vote?
Yes.
What is your vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Reyes?
Aye.
Commissioner Neiman Brady?
Aye.
Commissioner McLean Hill?
I'm going to support it, although I do share Fred's concerns regarding programs of this kind being included as regulatory assets as opposed to expenses. I will assume that this is something that will scale, and that I'm taking, Rich, your point that the predominance of the spending is on actual capital expenditures as opposed to public education. But I do think that this is, that it will be important for us to be disciplined about how we utilize the regulatory aspect process.
Commissioner McLean Hill, is your vote yes or no?
Yes.
I said yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Commissioner Levine?
Aye. So this is approved unanimously. We have 3 more items, and Commissioner Reyes recused because they impact retirees, of which she is one. So Commissioner Reyes, in light of the fact that we have completed our closed session agenda as well,
I will say goodbye.
Au revoir.
Yeah, after this, there's nothing else.
Yeah, and I have early lunch, you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
I think we can take 23, 24, and 25 as a package. I don't know if there's a need to discuss them. The reason that we pulled them was because Commissioner Reyes needs to recuse. Does anybody feel a need to discuss any of these items?
Can I ask a quick question, clarification? 26, I remember, I thought I heard somebody say 26A. Did we approve all of 26?
Just, there was only one item for approval.
B, C, and
It's
D?
just A1, Marty.
Okay, never mind. I was confused, so that's fine. Mr. Breivik, straighten me out.
I move approval of items 23, 24, and 25. Is there a second?
Commissioner, who seconded that item?
23, 24, and 25. I move approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Susie, please call the roll.
Commissioner Berard?
Aye.
Commissioner Neiman Brady?
Aye.
Commissioner McLean Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Levine? Commissioner Levine?
Aye.
Thank you.
Well, Joe doesn't need to use his magic words because we're not going into special session. I want to compliment everybody, particularly the technical people who enabled us to do this, as well as everybody else. This is a very productive meeting. And with that, I will wish everybody well and conclude the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.